It was weird, but I'm pretty okay, happy with it. Hey y'all, APG Jamie here, and I'm happy that you're here too. So, I have this portable, well, it's kind of portable, flower press. You know, you can take on trips, I guess. It'd be kind of hard to pack, which I'll show that particular one to you later on towards the endish. But I wanted one that was actually very portable, one that I could truly stick in my pocket, my front shirt pocket, my jacket pocket, my back jean pocket, a literal pocket-sized flower press. So I'm going to use some playing cards for my front and back cover, although, you know, it'd been just as easy to cut the size I wanted from any kind of whatever. I have that deck of Texas cards right there, which coinkadinkly did not measure out to be a regular size playing card. These are a bit smaller, which kind of jacked up my measurements. So I had to go over to my playing card box and find another deck, which I did. Because the typical size of playing cards, or as I understand, the regulation size of playing cards, you know, for like poker or spades or canasta or whatever you play with playing cards, is 2.5 by 3.5, which is why they made baseball cards that size, and hence we came around to the artist trading cards being of that size. Okay, so that's kind of where that all comes from. Now I've tried to leave this video, it's almost real time, y'all. Not quite, but almost. I do have measurements for you. Let me see. Let me find my little piece of paper. Okay. So for this particular one, if you wanted to make one like it, you're going to need 11 of those little fabric tabs, and that's just a cotton calico, as they call it in Europe, and we here in the United States call it muslin. It's cotton. It's unbleached. No print on it. Well, this particular one is a piece of leftover from when we did the spray paint, floating spray paint on the water that time. I don't know. It's been a long time, y'all, since we did that. Anyway, and those particular fabric tabs measure more or less 1.5 inches long by 3/4 inches wide. Okay, I'm going to use 2 playing cards. I'm going to use 6 pieces of cardstock, and that the cardstock pieces measure 2.5 by 3.5. Okay, then we're going to use 6 pieces of copy paper, and those I cut down to 4.25 by 5.5 inches, and we have scored those at 1 inch and 3 3/8 inches on the short side. Then for the long side, we scored at 1 inch by 4 3/4 inches, and we are trimming away the corners in a slightly wedge shape to ease in the edges so that they don't necessarily fold up and stuff and bind up and that kind of thing. Now the closure is something, you know, to be maybe further examined. You could use binder clips. I used a piece of fabric, which we will all get to that sooner or later. Now we're going to start putting our little tabs on. This is a tab binding, and instead of using 3 and then 2 on the next page, I'm using 2 and then 1, because it is pocket size. Okay, just saying. And I'm using Fabrifix fabric glue. You know, I could have just as easily used Aleene's Original Tacky Glue or even the art glitter glue, either one. And you don't have to use fancy cards. I just, for whatever bizarro reason, don't seem to have a regular deck of cards. Them old-fashioned bicycle cards. I thought I had some. I don't know. Oh, you know what? They're probably in our traveling bag in case we get bored and want to play cards or something silly like that. Or the camping bag. Yeah, beach bag. That's probably where they are. Them other bags. Anyway. So that's our folded piece of copy paper, and I'm just gluing across the top. It can be removed and replaced if you want to. You can add more papers in here. I am putting a piece of cardstock in front of that, and that's what the tab is going on. See, this is the single tab. Gluing it on a piece of cardstock, and we're going to lay it up, and we're going to line that all up. You may not be able to tell that I've got that lined up all the way around, but I do. We put the Fabrifix on the 2 tabs, which we started with, and we're folding those over that particular piece of cardstock. Then I'm going to get a piece of the copy paper, which is all folded. I folded it on the score marks. Oh, those numbers are listed in the description below, along with a list of ingredients. Okay. Now, you could make this any size you want. I just wanted something portable. For instance, when we walk the puppies. This is a flower press. Did I even say that? I don't know. It's a flower press. Sometimes when you're walking your dogs, you see something, somebody's got a bush, and you're like, oh, I need that leaf, or I need that flower. And of course, it's all dependent on the size of things that you pick legally. It is not legal to pick wildflowers, especially your state's wildflower. Each state has in the U.S. has a, wildflower. Here in Texas, it's the bluebonnet, y'all. It's illegal to pick bluebonnets and the Indian paintbrushes and the black-eyed Susans. Pretty sure about all that. Anyway, you can also do leaves off of trees. They're small enough. But there again, make if you're going to make one, make it the size you want. Now, you will see the one that I picked up at a charity shop. They used corrugate cardboard. That's not the flat cereal box kind. That's the corrugate kind, like in shipping boxes. And it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You can also use a book, y'all, just saying. Now, sometimes when you press flowers, they will stain the paper. All right. And if you're using a book, that could be an issue for your book. Maybe not. Depends on if you bought the book on purpose just for that. Anyway, I wanted it this size so I could put it literally in my pocket. Right? Okay. The reason I have that copyweight paper folded up is so that when you put the flowers or the leaf or the blades of grass, it might even be grass, y'all. Weeds, I don't know. You can kind of fold the paper around it, and it will help keep that from slipping out of your page as you're trying to close it back up and tie it shut or bind it closed, however you're going to do that. And if you put this in your back pocket after you got your flowers in there, it's not going to hurt nothing for you to sit on it, because that's just adding more pressure, y'all. Under pressure. So, I could have just showed you one or two of the little tab things, but, why do that when I can, consume most of your time with me by showing you a repeated thing. There are plenty of videos on YouTube for the tab binding, so if this is not quite explanatory enough for you, go ahead and search for those, y'all. I don't particularly have one to link to. Anyway, did y'all hear me suck my teeth? I don't like that. Why would I do that? I don't know. Anyway, let's see. My little Fabrifix bottle gets a little volcano-y, and that's why I have that silicone brush there so I could just kind of smoosh that out. And I'm happy with this. Okay, we will take a little turn around the yard, both my neighbor's front yard and in my backyard. Okay, and at the time of this video, it's very early spring, and we get those lovely little white onion flowers. They smell like onions to me, and we always called them onion flowers when we were children. I've never tasted one. I don't know if they taste like an onion or not. Okay, anyway, those are massively in his front yard. And then I've got some purple Jude, 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 blooming in my little backyard. So that's what we, and some little teeny tiny yellow flowers. I don't know what they are. Weeds, y'all. Most of them are weeds. So we're almost done with our little press. And I do recommend, this is just me, to go ahead and when you get home, if they're not already dried, you can transfer them to a book carefully, or just take your little mini pocket press and set it underneath a stack of books or a heavy brick, or sit on it a while, y'all. That kind of thing. You know, because it takes a few days for them to dry, depending on your humidity and how thick your flower and its stem or leaves may be. Okay, because the thicker ones take longer to dry. You do not want them to be in an airtight container on account of they will get moldy. All right, it will happen. Sometimes when you pick these little things, there will be teeny tiny bugs in there. So you kind of have to be okay with that. Now, if you have allergies, I recommend you being careful and pay attention to your allergies. So this is that same cotton fabric, and I've just got two thicker, they're thicker than the little tabs, and we're going to glue two of those together because I decided I wanted to wrap it up and down around. You'll see, sort of. It could be tied a couple different ways. Like I said, binder clips would work. The only issue with that, if you're walking the dogs, you got the dogs on a leash in one hand, and you're trying to pick your flower and stick it in here and then close it back up with one hand, or one other hand that may be getting pulled on by the little dogs. Here we are at neighbor's yard. And it's kind of hard to tell. It was a very bright day. It was a lovely day, y'all. Just saying, lovely day. But I think you can see. And you're going to see my little hands and all that come up any second now. It's hard to film yourself with your phone, guy. Anyway, it's funny. So here I am. I started from the back, and I do recommend starting from the back. That way, when you're opening your book, you're opening to a page that does not have flower or leaf or whatever you're collecting on there. I guess you could put a butterfly wing in here if you should happen to find a butterfly wing or whatever. And put that in there, fold my little paper over and up. You could even have individual loose pages in there if you wanted. This is roomy enough that you could slip extra pages in there loosely. I wouldn't necessarily stick them in there. And the reason I have the cardstock between there, here's the purple Jude. I think that, oh no, maybe that's not purple Jude. I don't know what that is. Anyway, see there I just have it tied shut. One of those that's just going to slip right through. And that's not purple. That's purple Jude next to it. Anyway, whatever it is, y'all, don't no matter to me. So you start from the back, and this way you don't slip those around, mess those around. And yeah, I am trying to stay on camera. I'm doing okay. I think I did okay with that, y'all. And you know, I tend to pick smaller little flowers. If you go for bigger stuff, then make a bigger book or buy one there. That other one I show, I don't know if that one's particularly available on Amazon, but Amazon had some. When we get to that part, I will tell you why I'm not real excited about it. Okay, as far as traveling with it kind of thing. I might would just carry a heavy book, unless I was doing the little walking thing, in which case this is, excellent. And depending on your area, you're not supposed to pick anything, okay? And then we're just going to tie it back real tight, like, y'all. And like I said, if you put it in your back pocket and you sit on it, it'll get pressed. Even if you're skinny, it'll get pressed. So there I'm trying to tie it shut and stay on camera. And I'm like, I don't know, I should have left longer strings and all that. And anyway, we're getting there. So hang in there, y'all. Imagine, if you will, squeaking brakes. Hold up, y'all. Once we took this off with the dog walk to pick some wildflowers, things change, okay? So, I'm remaking, but I'm going to show you just the new changes, basically, okay? Still using playing cards, still using cardstock, copy paper, and the little fabric tabs, okay? Only now I'm cutting my copy paper fold over pieces into a 5.5 by 6 inch page. I'm going to score that on the short side at 1 inch and 4.5 inch. Then we're going to flip it or turn it sideways to the long side where we score at 1 inch and then 3.5 inches. We will fold that up and trim out the corners like we did before, because I want my paper to fold over further. There's nothing wrong with the first one. I've just decided on a possible better way. Well, my husband and I both was discussing various things, and in this here pocket, flower press grew. It actually got thicker. Oh, look, I'm dragging it over. Oh, you can't look, can you? Because you don't see it. Anyway, I made it way too thick, but it still fits in a pocket. It's just a bulky pocket now, y'all. Y'all know me. So here we are trimming out the corners, and we are doing a very slight wedge so that, it angles so the corners, when you fold it in, it doesn't bind up. And if it does, just kind of trim that away, okay? Now, I would make this half the size that I ended up making it. Y'all, got way too many pages in it. You saw that coming. Way too many pages in this one. So because these are casino playing cards, they are very slick, and a couple of the corners have been cut off because I picked them up at the Dollar Tree, y'all. And I am sanding the coating away because, like I said, they're pretty slick. And I want my tabs to be able to glue to them. Again, we're going to put this together with 2 tabs, one top and bottom, and then one in the middle with the generic tab binding. Refer back to the other part of the video, or search here on YouTube for tab bindings. I don't know that I show you that much. Hopefully I don't overly show it, but I might, because that's kind of my way, isn't it? Wash, rinse, repeat, and repeat, and repeat some more. Let's see. How are we doing? No, we're not going to show you overly much. Just basically how I'm getting started again. Now, at one point, because I did make this a thicker, and when I say thicker, it's got to be at least an inch thick now, y'all. And that doesn't even have any flowers in it. French fried taters, y'all. Anyways, and this is just the cardstock at this point. We will come back and add in our fold over pieces of copy paper, okay? Yeah, I kind of screwed up. It's 2 1 2 2 1 2, but because it is thicker, I got a flippy flop part, but I'll show you how you can fix that. All right. Now here's our copy papers that's going to fold over. And this is where things got wonky. Instead of putting one piece of copy paper on each piece of cardstock, I put two, because, you know, more flowers that way. And let's see, what are we doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I know, I already had this. This was already filmed in the can and uploaded. And I'm like, no, I need to redid this. Anyway, so it's a new ending. So here goes our one piece on that piece of the back side of the cardstock. Now we're on the front side, and we're just going to glue each piece front and back of the cardstock. Is going to get its own piece of copy paper. This is the scraps from cutting the fold over copy papers, and I'm just taking it, got the one end all tapped up together. I'm going to use 2 popsicle sticks slightly down, see, slightly down. We're going to clamp that together because we're going to do a quick little perfect binding. That's what this is considered, a perfect binding, where all the edges, or the glued edge, is all tapped up together, and you adhere it pretty well, and then you put glue along that edge. And if you kind of wiggle it around slightly, ever so slightly, you will end up with just teensy bits of glue working in between the little edges, and it will glue all the edges together. And I do recommend that you do 2 coats. You do 1 coat, let it dry. I know it's the hard part, y'all. Let it dry, then add a 2nd coat. Okay, this is our first coat, and I'm going to get a brush, and I'm going to brush it in this way, and then I'm going to brush it in the other way, and then I'm going to go back and forth down the length of it, keeping it taut, because you want to keep your little pages, you know, together taut there. I know I'm going over it a few times because I'm trying to make sure I get a little bit of glue just along that edge. Perfect binding. You know, a lot of the little notepads you buy from the stores that are stuck just on the one edge, this is how they are. Magazines are typically put together with a perfect binding. So here, because my book is so much thicker, that one little tab in the middle is not quite enough. It's just a little too flippy floppy for me, y'all. You don't have to do this if you're okay with it. So I'm coming in with extra little tabs. I'm going to put, I lifted up my copy paper, my little fold over copy weight paper, and I'm going to put 1 tab there, which we've already glued that. Okay, this is, and then I'm going to put a 2nd tab down at the bottom, same place that the other ones are in. Okay, let that dry. Come on, dry. Dry, Fabrifix, dry, baby. And then this one, I'm going to flip it up, and we're going to glue the other side of the tab there, and then that's going to really sturdy up our little flippy floppy book, okay? Coffee. All right, let that dry. Let it dry. And then I, at one point, thought about the closure and decided I would use Velcro because it was much securer than tying it. Easier to tie it when you're out walking the dog. Okay, just saying, because it is. So I found this. This is just a scrap that was in my sewing whatnot drawer, and I'm just measuring out kind of the thickness there with the pencil, and I'm going to roll it over, and then I've got the other part of the Velcro, you know, one side is smooth and one side is rough. That's going to be a smaller piece. Okay, I'm just kind of measuring it out. I'm just showing you. I can't explain it. Okay, I'm going to trim it off because I don't need a whole lot of that anyway, which was just as well that we didn't have the rough stuff. And I'm going to go sew it. Let me get a clamp. Going to put an Ellie Mae on there to hold that there. Pretty much know where I'm going to be sewing it. And I'm like, oh, I can't take this to the sewing machine.
So fortunately, it hadn't been glued long enough that the Fabrifix was set. I mean, it was glued. Working it, pulling it off. Video is ever so slightly sped up, y'all. So now I'm going to go to the sewing machine any day. Where do I want it? Yeah, right there. Yeah, that'll be perfect. And I'm going to show you with a pencil. I put 3 stitch lines there. It's not fancy, utilitarian, y'all. And then that's the, the bumpy stuff sewed backwards. Okay? Now we're going to glue it back on there with our tabs. Only my middle tab is going to be in the way, so I'm like, well, I got to glue that down. Okay, Fabrifix. Gluing our little tails. Then when I go to put the queen on top, I'm like, oh, that one tab's in the way, so I just fold it over underneath. Watch. Yeah, I can't fold it because the Velcro's there now. Bless my heart, y'all. Think this stuff out in advance, okay? So now we're going to fold that over, and we're going to fold that tab over. I'm leaving it loose, not overly tight, okay? It's all sewed on there. That's going to wrap around. Our little roughness is it's got plenty of room in it. Going to erase these lines because I decided I wanted an ink pen because my husband is like, well, you might need some paper in there so you can make notes of the date and where you got it from and if you know the name of the flower or whatnot. Kind of like think field notes, y'all. Okay? Just think, sort of like field notes. So at some point I went through and I numbered all the pages. And again, because I think it'd be best to start from the back of the book to add in your little pressed flowers, I started my page number in the back, okay? And this way you can note the flower on page 1 came from the field across the way. The leaf on page 2 came from neighbor on the corner's house, that kind of thing. Okay, y'all, just whatever. It was my husband's idea and I liked it, so we went with it. So I'm just rounding the little corners on the Velcro because, as you know, they can be a little stiff. Here's our little perfect bound little notepad, and I'm going to trim it ever so slightly under the 2.5 by 3.5 inch rectangle because I have a big guillotine over there. I can do that. We're just going to straight up glue that on. It's okay, y'all. It's okay. Just at the very top part, not the whole thing. Now we have a little notepad. And here's our little closure. And then I'm going to tie on a flat, a mini flat pin. Mini as in small. If you would like a new video on how to make flat pins, let me know. This is originally what was the inspiration piece. I picked it up at a charity shop. It works okay for traveling. As you may can see, it takes a while to get in and out of. These are available on Amazon. Maybe not this particular one, but similar ones. They're not overly expensive. But I truly wanted a true pocket size, travel size flower press, especially for like when you're walking the dogs and you want to borrow a flower from someone. Caution on picking wildflowers, especially your state's wildflower, if you should happen to have a state wildflower. Okay, this particular one has corrugate boards and oops, I forgot I had pressed those in there. And just a paper. You do not want these airtight. You do want airflow to a certain degree, which is why we used cardstock and copy paper, because that, allows the flowers not only to be pressed, but to dry. And hopefully you avoid the whole mildew thing, hotty popo. So, as you can see, it's not the easiest to get on and off. It does take a few minutes, and this part is slightly sped up. This is not real time, and when I say slightly, I mean like, little tiny bit. It's got the big long, these are plastic nuts. That's what a nut is when it doesn't have a screw head on it. It doesn't have a screw head on it, it's a nut. Anyway, wing nuts go on there to help hold the wood in place, and so you can tighten it down and press. When you are tightening things like this from a mechanical standpoint, you want to go from one corner to the opposite corner and tighten a couple turns or a turn, and then go to the opposite corners and tighten those. Okay, it helps keep things from getting bound up. It's from a mechanical side of things, y'all. See how big it is? It's pretty big. It's not easily travelable in a suitcase. You can always get a little book. See, that's a nice size little book. It's still a little big for the pocket. There's our first one, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just hard to tie when you're out in the wild with the dog on a leash. Okay? And because of how the paper folds over, it doesn't cover the center of the page. And I thought, I think I want to do that. That's why I changed that aspect. Which, hang in there, you're going to see the new one, which is Flower Press version 2. I think I numbered it 1, but it's really 2. So anyway, that ties like that, which is nice and secure, and there's nothing wrong with it. Okay? Here's the big fancy one. Look how thick it is, y'all. Way too thick. Don't make it that thick. But see, it does still fit in a pocket. Okay? And because when you add in flowers and leaves or whatever it is you're going to be pressing and drying, you do need to allow a little bit of extra closure because it will get thicker still. All right, so see, excuse me, y'all. It opens up like that. You put your little flower in there and you fold it in and you fold that one over. It's a pocket flower press. Here's a pen. That's our little notepad. Put like page 1, flower from across the way, whatever it wrote. You can put the date. You can put, if you know the name of the flower, put the name of the flower, what color it was, what the weather was, whatever, y'all. It's your notepad to whatever. Okay, see, okay. It's just a notepad from our scraps. Opens it up. See, it all folds up. Got plenty of room in this one, y'all. Close it up. Close it up. We put a little eyelet in the Velcro there. And we just have our little pin tied to it. Like I said, if you would like to see a newer video on the flat pins, let me know. Excuse me, y'all. And it just tucks right in there. You can figure out anything you want. And that way you're not going to lose your pen if you want to take notes. Ta-da! Extended photo montage. Okay. So, this is the original one. And like I said, I will say it again. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay? The newer one with the Velcro closure definitely closes tighter, which is kind of one of the things you want when you are pressing. And, yeah. You don't want these to be airtight because you need the flowers to dry, not just be pressed, but to dry. Okay, that's why we used paper instead of cards in between all the paper. Okay, because you could make the whole thing out of cards, but cards have a coating, and therefore they are sort of airtight-ish. Okay, take my word for it. So I'm happy. It's a little too thick, but I'm still happy with it, and it will definitely get carried with us on little doggy walks. Not that I need that many more dried flower, weed flowers, y'all, because, you know, they are pretty too. They're only weeds when they're out in the wild. When they're in a garden in a specific way, they're flowers. Pocket flower press. Actually, version 2. I need to erase that 2. That 1 and change it to number 2. See, just a little notepad, y'all. Have fun with it because, you know, it's yours. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for watching. And happy arting, y'all. Beware of snakes.